Hello, good morning. Those who are watching the recordings, please fast forward at least 10 minutes. After that, only actual session starts. Thank you. Hi, Minu. Good morning. Hi, Rakhi. Good morning. So we'll wait for other people to arrive for next 5-10 minutes. Then we'll start the session. By that time, if you guys wish to share something, you can. Please confirm whether audio video are good enough for you or not. Yeah, thanks for confirming that, Rakhi. In Agra, it is thick fog today. So I'm not sure what about Delhi and Bikaner. Yeah, hi Prasida. Good morning. Prasida is from Hyderabad, right? Prasida? You are missing this north chilling weather. Oh, Minu is in Cochin. Right, right, right. Yeah, it must be very pleasant there. Here also it is pleasant. It's 6:02, so we'll start at 6:05. Yeah, Nandini also has arrived. Good morning, Nandini. Welcome to the session. Welcome to the class on car. Yeah, so Minu will be back to Bikaner by 14th. But you are committed for this course till 16th, full time. How will you travel? Hey, hi Vikrant. Good morning to you. Vikrant is in Pune, right? Vikrant is pursuing his film studies. So it's a very pleasant climate there must be. Yeah. Yeah, SP, good morning. Welcome to the session. So unlike yesterday, there is no hiccup today. It's all going good. So it's 6:04. We'll start at 6:05. We'll start with the silence. And during the silence, I would request you not to type anything. Just use that silence moment with you only. By closing your eyes, preferably, you will be alerted with gong sound. Yeah, so at the beginning, at the end. Oh, Minu has planned it very nicely. So her flight is to Jaipur at 3. So by 6 she will be in Jaipur, and in Jaipur she will attend the class. Then at 10 p.m. she will catch a train for Bikaner. Wow. and she is planning to join the next day's 6 a.m. class. Great, great. I appreciate. I appreciate this planning. You must be noticing that I'm reading all the comments. Those who are teacher and wish to use online teaching things via Facebook. Just so you know, I'm planning for a Facebook coaching center. So this is for kids and homeschooled kids primarily. So maybe it will take some time to get materialized. So this is very important to read the comments, because in the recording of Facebook session, you don't see the chats if it is downloaded and uploaded to YouTube, which I do usually. So for that purpose, this reading out the comments are very important. Just a pedagogical approach I must share. Right. So let's start the silence for 1.5 minutes. We'll do the silence. Good morning, guys. Yeah, hi Vidyut. Good morning. Okay, Rakhi says some problem at your end. What kind of problem? The network issues? So the network is quite prominent here. Okay. Okay, so never mind. So let's start today's session then. I'll switch back to the other camera. You'll see the darkness around for some time. And then you'll see my iPad there. Yeah, so we are doing a revision at this moment of the level 1 course. So today is the second day of the course. I formally welcome all of you to this journey of 9 days, journey of going deeper. So we started with the revision yesterday, and we started with the dialectical understanding. So I'm just removing my headphone to check the audio. Just if it's creating any problem at your end, just alert me through the chat. I'll take care of the technical aspects here. Right. So and we started with this question, that why disease occurs, and we understood the importance of understanding the vitality. Vitality is the life force, and life force actually is the main aspect of doing any kind of activity, internal, external, whatever, even thinking. So without life force, our body is known as dead body. So life force is very much important aspect, and we need to manage our life force, the vitality, in a certain manner, so that we attain the optimum level of health and happiness. That is what is the nature cure science. Now we also understood a little bit about the thermodynamics, and we'll be going deeper into the aspects of thermodynamics in this course. And just to start with, the first law of thermodynamics is very much important to understand the kind of vitality management that we aspire for. And the vitality supports the conservation of law of energy, which is the first law of thermodynamics. And vitality that we receive at the time of conception is fixed till the time of body perishment. So so that's very much important. Yeah. So SP says it's clear. That's fine. And then we touched upon two fundamental aspects of nature cure, the foundations of nature cure rather, the voice of the organism and the law of unity. And we understood that if we defy these two foundations, then we actually consume a lot of vitality. And when we do that repeatedly and continuously, then we have a state called innervation. That's a severe tiredness, you can say. And with that, if we actually consistently go for innervation, then the output of the toxic element is hampered. It is reduced or stopped sometime. So if that happens, then that is nothing but the accumulation of the toxin within the body, and that state is called as toxemia. You need to understand this. And this toxemia is the only identified disease as per nature cure. And we can actually opt to give many names which we generally give, but those are nothing but toxemia. We understood this. Then we understood the default cure mechanism that we have in the name of metabolism. And metabolism has got two types of sub-processes. One is the catabolism, and other is the anabolism. Catabolism is the breaking down process of the cells, and anabolism is a building up process of the cell. So here I must mention one thing, that this never happens that one cell is replaced by another cell. It is just that the cellular body is slowly and gradually replaced by these two simultaneous process. So it is not taking out one cell and giving another cell, formed cell kind of. The formation and breaking down goes on 24/7. So this understanding is very much important. And if the newer cell, which is being formed through the anabolic process, are healthy, then we term ourselves cured. Healthier than the before, then we term ourselves cured. Otherwise, there is nothing called intentional cure that is happening within us. It is a continuous process that is programmed within us, and we need to take advantage of this process by managing our vitality well, to have a an effective metabolism, and for that we need to actually understand certain areas, so to say the input area, action area and thought area. So we'll repeatedly come to these 3 points in today's session. And then if we continuously subject ourselves to the toxemic state, then we suffer a state called healing crisis. This is a default programming again to actuate some special elimination by the body. So this is again another important aspect to understand, that healing crisis. So the crisis, the discomfort that we feel, that we experience, is to heal ourselves. So primarily the fever is the main healing crisis, and in nature cure, fever is termed as the best healing crisis, which helps us to get rid of the toughest toxins, you know. So we need to understand this aspect. Then the problem of the suppression also we need to understand, which we may have to opt some time for kind of getting rid of the discomfort immediately, but that leads to the chronification of the disease. This knowledge also should go in, right? So whatever the discomfort that you experience at the outer peripheral level, symptomatic level, that needs to be modified slowly and gradually for the exact cure. If you go for instant relief of the symptomatic discomfort, that is nothing but suppression. So difference between suppression and cure need to be understood very dialectically, you know. So do let me know any kind of clarification if you need on this anytime. And then we talked about the disease stages, and 7 stages of diseases we discussed: innervation, toxemia, irritation, inflammation, ulceration, hardening, cancer. So these A, B, C, D, E, F, G are the 7 stages of the diseases, and these green ovals are triggers of the whole healing crisis, and the red are the suppression. So you see the vitality span in the y-axis, it goes up first, then you feel the stage of the disease, then the body will try to conserve on its own, but and it will trigger the healing crisis. When it triggers the healing crisis, if we suppress it, then we suffer the chronification, and this goes on and on stage wise. And this is the x-axis is the disease chronification with time. We need to understand this. Now acute and chronic disease also we tried to understand that 37 degree or 98.6 degree Fahrenheit is the normal temperature of the body, which is quite general, but it should not be taken up blindly. If you don't have any problem, and if you don't have the exact 37 degree or 98.6 degree, don't worry about it. So then we talked about the vitality ribbon, and while discussing this, we discussed about longevity, and longevity connecting to the vitality attributing factors, which are this genetic factors, environment factor, lifestyle factor. These are the 3 primary factors where we understood that genetic factor cannot be controlled at our end for ourselves, but for our offspring we can definitely go for some kind of spatial management, health management, so that we can gift a better vitality quotient to our offspring. And the environment is one thing that community wise we need to take care of. This is a long-term process, and the individual wise this management may not be possible easily, but the lifestyle factor is easily manageable. And under lifestyle factor we have three routes of managing the lifestyle: physical, physiological and psychological. 3 P's you see. So, and these are in other word it's also named as mechanical. The physical factors which we consciously choose to do are the mechanical aspects, and the chemical aspects which are internally involuntarily happening, those are the physiological or chemical aspects, activities. And then the psychological or the mental or the thinking pattern, That is the one of the major aspects of managing our lifestyle. Then we talked about the vitality, which is an unique wallet. The bad news is you can't earn more, but the good news is you have enough. And then we talked about the vitality of a moment. Vitality of a moment. So here the quotient is always same. If this point is A and this point is B, the C will go up and down, but A, B are fixed points. Now similarly, the vitality induction we understood, negative induction and the positive induction, and connected to the good habits and bad habits. Rather, bad habits actually give the negative induction and good habit gives the positive induction. And sudden death also we understood that when somebody is subject to touching the top point of the vitality quotient, AB. So when C matches to the B, that time we die suddenly. So that happens in any kind of accidental death that we see. Even the surgical deaths also are such. Body tries to manage and spend the vitality for a moment also. If it touches the complete quotient, then it dies. And we understood the mature death also, where slowly and gradually the vitality within is occupied by the cell maturity, and we perceive our death very clearly, consciously and happily. So at the end of the end of the life also, we are very much conscious about our death. So this is what is the sense of life at the end of the mature death, at the mature death time. Now this is the ribbon. When you add all the moments of the life, then this actually forms a ribbon, where x-axis is definitely rightly mentioned by Vikrant yesterday, that it is the timeline, so birth to death, and y-axis is the vitality spent. Now conventional life with casual separation, the point 1 is the birth and point 8 is the death, and internal there are points of young state and then chronic state and then conservation of vitality, which happens for everybody. And then healing crisis is also, it's a trigger of healing crisis actually at this point, because during the healing crisis again vitality consumption goes up, you feel tiredness, but the triggers happen when you have enough vitality. So healing crisis is a proof that you have enough vitality. And then if we suppress it, then the progression of the disease happens and we die. Vitality intelligence is the intelligent management of vitality, which is all the endeavor that we are putting at Sai Solution to pass on this education of vitality management to all, and primarily the younger generation. That is the main objective of our initiative, to spread the vitality education across the globe. So, so this is a kind of well-managed vitality ribbon, where you see the green area are more, though the ups and downs will be there, which is obvious, and that's the sign of life, but definitely the sense of life never goes too low. So that gives a happy death at the end of the life. So and the recoveries are also very soothing and dialectic recovery, rather you must say. So that way, now severely mismanaged vitality ribbon is this one, where you see lot of red, so these reds are showing that it's a mismanagement of the vitality throughout the life. Unmindful conservation of vitality happens sometime, but that doesn't assure the proper recovery, because it is again the suppression which hampers the process, and we go for an untimely death. So this is an important understanding we must take at this moment, and we discuss about these two cases we know. Now let's start today's session. It's 6:26, right? So we are on time. So I just plan to take 15 to 20 minutes to revise the complete concepts that we discussed in 2 sessions yesterday. So I don't know from where the mosquitoes are coming inside the car. Anyway. Right. So, are you guys with me? Can somebody type on the chat? While you are typing, let me touch upon a few points which was raised yesterday. Hope you have received the board work yesterday, right? You should take that and keep it saved in your computer or phone. Those are very important aspects. Yeah. Thanks, guys, responding, because so much of silence in the chat. So sometime I feel that is there any network problem or not? Yeah. Yeah. So yesterday SP put up a question, very valid question of understanding, and that's a strive of mankind actually. That vitality, if it can be increased, and somehow if it can affect our health and all those aspects, and how the vitality can be attained through. Yeah. Thanks, Minu. Thanks, Prasida. Thanks, all of you. Yeah, right. So, vitality aspect in the food, that was a question of SP. That if an apple is having a good vitality, whether it is a good for us or not. Now, the vitality within the fruit, within the food, is a sign of quality. That's number one. But the quality aspect of the food goes beyond the vitality within the fruit. Number one, the vitality cannot be measured in a food, how much it is. But what we can measure, I'll just give you some clue of identifying the right food in terms of the exposure to the RAW. So that's very important. Exposure to RAW defines the quality. Now, quality means the quality of the raw material, but it doesn't mean that raw material quality, when I am going to discuss this, we prone to take a habit of just choosing those foods only. That's not the case, but we can identify whether an apple or a mango or a watermelon, which is better for us. Now, you must be knowing these two terms. In terms of fruits, I am talking about the tree and vine. Tree fruits and vine fruits. So, tree means a big tree, and there the fruits are hanging. And vine means it's not a big tree, it's on the ground, and there the fruits are coming up. Now, for a vine tree, the vegetation period is around 45. Nandini can correct me, she is a natural farmer. So 45 days, kind of, by 45 days, 45 to, it ranges up to 90 days sometime, but within 45 days you get a watermelon. From the seed to, from the flowers to fruit. And for a tree fruits, it takes at least 3 months to get a ripened fruit. So for mango, so this is a mango, this is a watermelon. So so watermelon 45 days minimum, the mango 90 days minimum, more than 90 days in fact, so minimum 90 days for sure. So from the flower to fruit. Now what does it mean? The mango is exposed to RAW for longer than watermelon, and that enhances the raw material quality of the fruit. We need to understand this. Yeah, Chiku is an exception, as Nandini says, that it takes 6 months. So all in all, you need to understand. So the physics need to be understood, that more the exposure to the raw, the quality of the raw material. So first raw is RAW, radiation, air, water, and the raw material is the within the construction of the material. So that defines the quality. So I hope I could answer SP's question of vitality versus the quality, right? So that's not the important, because for the simple reason that we cannot measure the vitality of a fruit, right? And let's go forward with our implementation tips. Now, the factors of lifestyle. Yesterday, if you remember, we talked about three primary factors: density, speed, and heat. And I promise that we will be going deeper on these three aspects during this course, which was not touched upon majorly during the first level, those who have underwent, and the study materials that you have undergone. So these aspects are not covered in those study materials, but let's touch upon all those aspects now. Now, the factors of right lifestyle are actually three factors. Those factors are, let me take the notepad so that it will be recorded. The keynote presentation doesn't record the annotations. So, so factors are so factors are: input is the first factor, first domain rather, then the action, and then the thoughts. So these are the three areas where we have the scopes to improve our vitality conservation. Right. Now, the vitality conservation for the input. Now, we understood this aspect, that the toxemia, is directly proportional to the density. We understood this, right? So if we are in toxic state, then we have a denser blood flowing within. And if we have a denser blood, then the motion, see, the motion is the life. If the motion is there inside, the circulation I'm talking about, well, then we are living a healthy life. When the circulation stuck, we get pain. We need to understand. So the toxemia is inversely proportional to the speed or the circulation within. Yeah. So Prasida asks that, but yesterday you mentioned the faster the food that gets perished, the better for us. So I thought greens like palak, amaranthus perish faster than fruits, so they are better. But the greens are not exposed to raw so much, then are they good? Yeah, so we'll address this particular question actually in the food section, when we'll go that where these all palaks and the spinach and all these things stands as per as the quality. So the perishment is one identification of the right food, and faster it perished, it's better for us in terms of the vitality spend that we do. Now, if you talk about nuts doesn't get perished, right? But we need nuts for our maintenance of the complete cohesive water within, because this is again mathematics, the ratio and proportion. We'll touch upon that, but let's touch little on that aspect since you raised this. Yeah. So here we talk about, I'll keep little space here for something else. Now 50, 35, 10, 5 is the recommended ratio of the food types. So 50 is the juicy and 35 is semi-juicy and 5 is concentrated and this is semi-concentrated, 10. So you just understand this. So this is the actual recommendation as per Pure Nature Cure for a healthy living. Now, what is the basis of this particular ratio? Now, the cohesive water is the density factor. More the cohesive water. Now, what is cohesive water? You can just make a note also if you are carrying your notepad and pen. Cohesive water is the evolved water within. Evolved water means that is necessarily coming through a natural process. It is not the added water. Right. Now, cohesive water within a fruit is highest. Now, the vegetables will have lesser cohesive water. Now, cohesive water will help it gets perished also if the vitality is available. Now, that is well connected, all the aspects. Now, we do have a cohesive water within. Now, if you apply some mathematics of ratio and proportion of the cohesive water on these 4 fruits, vegetables, starch category and the nuts category, calculate the ultimately cumulative cohesive water, you will find it's coming around 60 to 70% of cohesive water, which is a healthy human cohesive water ratio. So this is a well researched recommendation by Szekely, Professor Edmond Brodo-Szekely. So this is very much valid. And so coming to your question, Prasida, you asked that whether the palak is needed or not. Those are coming under the 35% of category, and we need those aspects, but limited, definitely lesser than the fruits. Because we need to keep the cohesive water factor in our mind. So for example, the nut category doesn't have any perishability as such, but we need it. It's not that we should not go for the nuts at all. We should be on the fruits only, which is an ideal case. With fruits, people can survive. But for that, you need to actually go through a cellular change, which we are not right now. Right now, if you opt for just fruit, then we will die sooner. Or rather, your sense of life will be very lesser. So, gradual change. And for the transition, this is the best recommended practice of 50, 35, 10 and 5. Right. Now, now coming back to our discussion, the toxemia. Yeah, ratio is by weight, by consumable weight. Good question, Minu. Thanks for reminding this. This is consumable weight. That means the 50, when we talk about the fruits, it should be excluding the skin and seed. Excluding the skin and seed. So the consumable meat portion of a mango is the 50. Hope you understood that. Now, coming to the density factor, speed factor, the toxemia understanding. Now, the toxemia, if you are in a toxic state, you will correlate the temperature thing. The chronic stage is highly toxic stage, and there the temperature is low. So the relation between the heat is this. It is inversely proportional. So these 3 factors we need to understand repeatedly: density, speed and heat. Now let's correlate these 3 factors with the factors of recommendations here. The input factor is nothing but the density management. We need to manage our density such a way that the density, and we talked about density here. You know, cohesive water is nothing but the density factor. Now, going forward, the action is nothing but the speed management. The circulatory speed can be managed well by managing our actions. And then comes to the thought. Thought is equivalent to the heat. If we have lesser number of thoughts, which can be attained dialectically by managing our rational understanding, stopping our blind beliefs, more rational thinking we opt in our thought pattern, the lesser the number of thoughts it will be in our mind. We'll cover these in the mind management section in details. And even tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we'll be covering the rational analysis aspects and the beauty of the rational analysis and how it helps us to reduce the thought burden. And each thought consumes heat, consumes vitality. Now, lesser the thought means better the conservation of vitality. You need to understand that. Right. So, lesser the thought, better the conservation of vitality. This factor helps us to increase the heat within, and that increase of the heat, according to this relation, we can understand that this will help us to reduce toxemic condition. So if we increase heat organically, I'm not putting that we should go in a heater zone and sit in the hot because we are exothermic, we have a thermal control within us. So that has to happen organically, and through the thought management this happens very beautifully. You must have heard about yogis going to the Himalayas and doing meditation without putting any clothes. How is that happened physics wise? Because of that thought management. They have least number of thoughts in the mind, and that helps them to conserve a lot of vitality. So this understanding is very important understanding, so that you will be able to manage your heat, to manage your toxemia. So so these three factors need to be understood. So all in all, in Nature Cure, we talk about 8 factors. So density factor or the input factors are 4 factors. Radiation, air, water, and solid food. So these are the inputs that we give ourselves. And under action, there are actually many factors, but let's club it in main 3 factors. They are actually the spine care. So let's write down 3 factors. So spine care, activities, so activities includes exercise, your other activities such as, obviously sex is one important aspect. We get confused about the sexual activities a lot, and there we consume a lot of vitality in the irrational pattern of thinking is also connected to the understanding of the sex. So in our residential camps, actually we spend around 2 to 3 hours time of understanding the sense of sex. I'll share, because there is a paucity of time in this course, so we may not be going deeper into the aspects of sense of sex here, but I'll share an article which will give you some understanding of the sense of sex I am talking about in connection to the vitality management. Now, after activities is the sleep and rest pattern. The sleep and rest pattern is very important to conserve our vitality. So, and manage our speed within, that rejuvenates the circulation within. And the thought is the single one, the most important factor. So, here you find 4 plus 3 plus 1, total 8 factors. So total 8 factors is these are the recommendation of Nature Cure for a healthy and happy life. Right, now let's go back to our presentation and try and understand that the input as I said, that radiation intake, air intake, water intake, and food intake. So these four aspects are there under the radiation. Now, if we go deeper into these aspects, then again that Y factor is definitely an integral aspect, you know. Now, why to eat raw is the question. Why to eat raw? Because in Nature Cure we talk about raw all the time. One is the radiation, air, water, and other is the raw food. So unprocessed, uncooked food. Now, why this is so important? We need to understand this aspect. Now, for that, we propose a raw story. Once in one seminar, when I was proposing this story, and I asked that what is raw story. So one person responded that this is research and analytical wing, research and analytic wing. So being a ex-defense person, they thought that there must be a connection with the raw agency. But this is not that raw. Obviously, we are talking repeatedly about the raw radiation, air and water. So let's understand what is raw story. Here, we need to understand first that organisms are of two types. One is the autotrophs and other is the heterotrophs. Now, autotrophs are the organisms. Auto means self and troph means nutrients. So, autotrophs are the organisms, those who can produce their own food. So, the greens around are the autotrophs. Now, they can actually assimilate RAW. What they do, they actually assimilate radiation, air and water through the roots with the help of the soil, and they produce their own food. We call that photosynthesis. That process is known as photosynthesis. So, through which they produce their own food. And the heterotrophs are directly or indirectly dependent on the autotrophs. So, we know this food chain thing in our schools, we have studied that. Now, the heterotrophs, depending upon their structure, the chemical structure. So, this is very important understanding. The structure, the chemical structure and the anatomical structure. So, with the support of this structure, they opt to remain directly dependent or indirectly dependent to the autotrophs. So, the structure is very much important aspects. For an example, a lion cannot survive on grass. It needs deers or goats to survive, you know. So, that kind of structure they have. But fortunately, the human being has got a structure which supports all types of food to survive. But the healthy survive is the intelligent survival, where we can actually simplify our eating habit to have a healthy life. So that kind of capability we can survive on meat as well, but we can survive on fruits as well. So if you compare the sense of life comparing to these two aspects, the hell and heaven difference is there. Now, why this happens? What is the vitality factor? Let's understand that. Now, if you take an apple, suppose, I'll take green to draw a leaf. I'm actually drawing it, started drawing it with montage. So, yeah. So, coming to this. This is RAW integrated RAW. Wow, I spoke about Montaj, and Montaj is online. Rakhi Mukherjee is Montaj's mother. So Montaj is online in the class. Yeah, welcome beta. So yeah, so now RAW integrated is this. This is the integrated RAW. Now when we consume that, what we do? We actually disintegrate it first. So first we disintegrate, then we reintegrate into our body cells. So this is a catabolic action and this is an anabolic action. So disintegration and integration is done, reintegration is done within us. Yeah, interruption? SP says some interruption. Let me check if it is for everybody. Yeah, if others can just respond. How is the reception at your end? So I actually put on my headphone. I found that the audio is clear. So at my end, the reception is good. So that means the signal is good enough here, which is sending and receiving both. Okay, okay. Thanks, SP. Thanks. So please do let me know whenever you find some issues. I'll pause and I'll resume the things. In any way, the since the signal here it is very good, I'll show you my data card. Yeah. So see, this is the full signal strength it is showing. So that way it is good signal here. So recordings will be uninterrupted for sure. Right. Right. So let's get back to the business. We were talking about the first analysis of the RAW story. The first analysis says that if you take an apple, apple is an integrated form of RAW. You need to disintegrate it. You chew it, right? Then you try to digest it, and then you try to assimilate it. So that assimilation is the reintegration process. Now, here we must understand that there are 3 steps involved: 1, 2, and 3. Now, with this, if you go for the next level of understanding, where that particular apple is taken to the factory. Now, the factory will do disintegration because it will chop it, and then they will reintegrate it by mixing some chemicals or whatever the additives may be, and they may make a jam out of it, apple jam. And that jam, when we consume, then we actually disintegrate it again. And with that disintegration, we try to reintegrate into our body cells. So here we must understand that there are the steps 1, 2, 3. So 1 is a common step, 3, 4, and 5. So total 5 steps. And now the longer the chain is, the complication goes up. The complication goes up. And because of that, the vitality needed for the last two steps differs. In this case, the last two step is much higher in the vitality consumption. We need to understand that. So when we talk about vitality conservation, we need to understand this aspect very dialectically, that we need to make our food simple enough while keeping the density factor in mind, as discussed here in this area. So we need to go for the nuts also, which takes little higher vitality than that, but the percentage is pretty lower, right? So that way, so the chain is very important, So if the nuts are processed again, then it again elongate the chain, and which hampers the vitality conservation. We need to understand this. Now, the third example under the raw story, will take any non-vegetarian food, be it a fish or a chicken or goat, whatever. If you take a goat, for example, you need to consider this as goat. Montage considers that. So now goats eats grasses. So grasses are nothing but RAW integrated. Then when the goat consumes RAW, what it does, it actually disintegrates it the way we do it, and then it reintegrates into its body cells. Then when we consume goat, what we do? We take that goat to the kitchen. We chop the goat, right? So I'm not talking about the ethics thing here. So ethical discussion is a separate discussion, but I am talking about the survival discussion. So in the kitchen, because we cannot eat goat the way a lion eats, right? So we do not have that capability of eating a goat in a raw state. So we need to take that to the kitchen, and in the kitchen we disintegrate it. And in the kitchen we reintegrate by mixing spices and all. Then we make it consumable, because the raw goat is not consumable. Then that reintegrated goat in the kitchen is disintegrated again by us when we consume. We chew and all those steps starts happening. Then we reintegrate it into our body cells, whatever the possible reintegration can be done. Now here we must understand that the steps involved are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 steps, and I'm sure I need not to explain further that this particular choice is the worst choice in terms of vitality conservation. If we are intelligent enough to conserve our vitality, then we will not choose this kind of food for our daily routine, at least. So we must understand the gravity of the vitality conservation to choose our food. So this is a raw story I wanted to share with you. Right. So I welcome any question on this, because this is very important understanding. So if you have any question, do let me know. Otherwise, I'll proceed. By that time, I'll have a water break. Yeah, so grains, in fact, in the grain also, you see the kind of processing is there, you know. So we can actually go back to the notepad and see the grains. If you talk about grains, it is integrated RAW. You cannot consume it directly. Particularly, grains are foods for mice and the birds. You know, they have the digestive system such a way that they can consume grains directly, but others cannot. So for that, there should be some cooking, and in pure nature cure, cooking is not completely restricted. But the condiments and taste enhancement is a foolish choice. So now if you go deeper to understand that when you process it, if the processing is just RAW, then it's a single process. And then you consume it, you disintegrate it. So what I mean to say is the steaming or boiling of the grain, or even making roti, making chapatis, is also RAW if you don't put salt. Right. Now, that will help you to reduce a step. The moment you use some condiment, that needs a disintegration and integration. But this doesn't need. You're just putting water and giving heat, giving heat to make it softer. So which is fine. And then you again reintegrate. So there are actually 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is again, if you understand it deeper, you cannot have much of rices without a side dish. You can have a small cup of rice without side dish, but with dal only you will increase the consumption of grain. So you need to dialectically understand where the bluffing is being done. So those are nothing but bluffing us for kind of increase the consumption of the grain, because the grain consumption takes a longer digestion hour, and to have some kind of adjustment of sustainability, we may opt grain more and more for the purpose of our profession or whatnot. The excuses are something else, but the truth is truth. Truth cannot be altered by seeing your situational adjustment, right? So we need to understand this. We have another question from Vikrant. He says, what in case if the fruits are frozen for longer duration, does it come under one of the discussed factor? So frozen fruits to be reduced intelligently as much as possible, you know. So definitely the frozen fruits, if it is a processed and frozen, then it's a problem, a severe problem. Yeah, so if you sprout, if you sprout the grain and if you have it lesser, because sprouting will make it under the category of 5%. You need to understand that concentrated category. The meaning of the concentrated category is the food which contains life. The food which contains life. Now, the sprouts contain life. If you sow a sprout, it will grow into a plant, right? So that means it is very complicated aspect is there inside. And to disintegrate that, we need higher vitality. So sprouts are allowed definitely, but the quantity is lesser. So coming back to Vikrant's question, that the frozen fruit will diminish the quality of the food for sure. But in case of short period storing the food, it's okay. But the voice of the organism is the top of it. If you consume a frozen food and you don't like it, don't eat it. So if you like it, then only you eat it, and likability will indicate that there is a food value inside, right? So yeah, Vidyut asked a question, only by making pieces how meat disintegrates. Disintegration by cooking meat again. How? Integration by, okay. So just think about meat cooking process. You need to chop it, right? Then you need to put condiments and cook it so that the condiments go within the meat. Then only you can eat it. So both the processes are nothing but disintegration and reintegration. So you are disintegrating the meat to certain extent, then you adding something to reintegrate into some dish. So for example, chili chicken. You chop the chicken, then you mix with the condiments, then you prepare a chili chicken. So that preparation is the reintegration of that chopped chicken. Right, Vidyut? I understand from where you are coming from, because I'm by birth I'm a Bengali, and I understand the attraction of fish and chicken, and I was a chickenitarian. I used to love 3 non-veg food, chicken, chicken and chicken. So I understand the kind of attachment we have towards chicken. Now nobody can compel me to consume chicken. Right. So Prasida asks, how can someone increase their radiation consumption? Yeah, radiation consumption can be increased by sunbasking. You know, so if you are regular to the soothing sun, particularly at the dawn. So if not at the dawn, then in the dusking. So we'll be covering that if the time permits. We'll be quickly covering the right choices of sunbasking, radiations and all. Right. Yeah. So all in all, the consumption of sunbasking, like consumption of radiation, can be increased by staying outside as much as possible till the time you get irritation in the skin. If you get irritation in the skin, then you need to reduce it, right? So right. So now the third factor, the second aspect of action, which is circulatory support. So regular exercise is one thing that gives us the circulatory support, and the spine care. This is another important aspect, you know, because the spine is the most important accessible organ of our body, is the most important accessible organ. So undoubtedly, unarguably, the brain is the most important organ of the body, but brain is attached with an inbuilt helmet. You do not have any opportunity to improve the circulation through massaging or exercising, other than the thought pattern exercises. So next important is the spine, which is accessible, and your spine has got a kind of equilibrium. It's a central axis of your body. So the mass around the spine is equal during the birth. So we need to keep that in mind, and we need to actually improve our postures so that the spine gets a relaxation. Because the moment you put one side more, the spine actually gets exerted, and that takes a toll on your vitality. So from the perspective of the vitality conservation, you need to take care of your spine, because spine is connected throughout the body, and that's very important aspect to understand. Right. Okay, there are few questions. Minu asks, so which is a semi-concentrated food? Semi-concentrated foods are like legumes, potato, rice, all these, you know. Yeah, Vidyut is trying to become vegetarian after PFC level 1. Congratulations, Vidyut. It will take time, but you will surely be able to achieve a wiser lifestyle as far as the food is concerned. because slowly and gradually our taste buds get modified and get sensitized, and we'll go through all these aspects tomorrow, day after tomorrow, another dialectics. Right. Then the rest and sleep. Rest and sleep is one aspect that actually rejuvenates us, so that rejuvenation is very much important to maintain our proper health. Now, the most critical aspect is the mind. I'll not go deeper into this aspect today, because we have a dedicated day for mind management, and in the process also we'll talk a lot about mind and thought management aspects. Right. Now, a little bit of action plan that we can discuss today is what to do versus what not to do. Now, yesterday, what happens, when we experienced that network issue, and we just resketched our plan not to conduct the class from the office, but from the car. It was amazing. It was really, I personally enjoyed the journey a lot. Now, and after the class is over, there was sun, and I used that sun time for Prasida. Actually, these kind of things you can make changes little in your life. I use that sun in the winter season primarily to wash my car. So me and Montaj, we washed our car. So while we were washing our car, so our neighbor was also washing their car next to me. So I shared this experience that morning. He asked that where you went in the morning. So I shared this experience. So then I just made a statement that if you will to do something, you will be able to do something. So he appreciated the experience. So on my statement, just try and listen to this very attentively. On my statement that if you have will, then you can do a lot of things. So with on this statement, he responded, yes, if you do not have any will, you cannot do the things. So now pick up these two sentences. I request you to pick up these two sentences. The things, the meaning, the etiological meaning or the inner meaning of the sentence is same. These sentences are same, where someone says that if you will to do, you can do. Now, someone is saying if you do not have will to do, you will not be able to do. So, but intention wise, the knack wise, the philosophical disposition wise, there are differences. The same thing can be interpreted in different ways, right? Now, that is the beauty of to do the things versus not to do the things. So, right now, when you are undergoing a change, undergoing a transition in your lifestyle, then you will actually counter a lot of questions, and you will be confused a lot with the counter questions. Now, there you need to scrap all these not to do things. Just concentrate on the to do things. So, in those two sentences, if we concentrate on the first sentence more and more, then the knack towards going towards that route is higher. And in the second sentence, you will prone to find an excuse of not to do the things. Are you getting my point? So this is very important philosophical disposition that we need to modify. We need to focus on to do things. Now, for example, Vidyut has raised this non-vegetarian aspect. So I would recommend, don't stop your non-vegetarian food habit right away, drastically. Try and reduce it. What you focus on is increasing the fruit intake. Because I know in a conventional lifestyle, the fruit consumption is very less. So you need to focus on the to-do things, and you have a single stomach. So if you fill your stomach
with lot of fruit, where will you accommodate lot of junk in it? So to do will actually reduce not to do things automatically. So if we focus dialectically on the to do things more and more, gradually the not to do things will be reduced. Just give me 1 minute. Let me connect the battery bank. Every day I am forgetting that. Yeah, so now I remember it. Next onwards I'll not. Yeah. Yeah, so there are some comments. Nandini says that not to do will give rise to a lot of obstacles that we create for ourselves. Resent the change. Yeah. So SP says beautiful, Minu says positive and negative approach, I guess. Yeah. So here actually the approach is the orientation of problem and orientation of solution. So I tell you what happens yesterday again, another experience I'll share. That there were a lot of preparation. Yesterday I got up, yesterday means day before yesterday, I got up at around 2:30 a.m. and we prepared the office for the session, and I was ready by 4:30, sorry. By 4:30 I was ready in my attire and all these connections of the LED, placement of the tripod, and everything is tested, tried. Raki helped me in this process. All these things happened. Then suddenly at 6 o'clock all this so-called problem of network happened. Now with that, we could switch back to this alternative mode that you are experiencing right now, and for next 8 days you will be experiencing that. So this is a solution approach. This is not a problem approach, because it's not about the network or internet or the gadgets or anything, but it is about the knack. If you inculcate, and this is a dialectic process, this is not out of the blue, one day one can achieve it. It is a dialectic slowly process. When you have a knack to solve the things, you will diminish the importance of the problems. So whether you are problem oriented or whether you are solution oriented, that makes whole difference. The more you are problem oriented, more the consumption of the vitality will be. More you are solution oriented, you are more vitality conserving person, and that will improve your health and happiness a lot. Yeah, thanks SP. I'm sure you are appreciating this, the approach of to do versus not to do. So, and definitely monitor the voice of the organism. This is very much important, because slowly and gradually you will be sensing a change in your patterns of voice of the organism. So for example, the chili, those who consume chili on regular basis, they have a kind of shields to respond the irritation towards the irritation of the chili. But slowly and gradually, consciously, when you reduce the consumption of chili, then you will find yourself more and more sensitive towards the chili's taste. And that is where your voice of the organism is getting sensitized. You need to acknowledge that. Don't consider that I used to bear so much of chili, but now I am not able to. What is the wrong with me? It is a bettering of your voice of the organism that you are experiencing, that we need to understand. Right. So, yeah. So that way, the monitoring of the voice of the organism, you can make a note also, you can track the change. And take the easiest path. Easiest path, when I say this this understanding is very much important. This is the easiest path. This input route is the easiest path, and then this, and then this, the thought. The thought management is the toughest of amongst these three. So when you start with the density management, with the input management, you will start seeing the changes very effectively and continuously. And that will develop a knack within you to make the changes for other two aspects. So this is very important understanding one must go for, that take the easiest path, and the easiest path is the change your inputs. And we need to understand the conscious and beyond conscious aspect dialectically, because the conscious aspect is definitely, if you see my wallpaper on my iPad, you'll see this iceberg image. This is actually the tip of the iceberg. This is the conscious portion, and this bigger chunk is the beyond conscious portion, which is definitely much bigger, beyond 90% they say. But we have a capability to influence our beyond conscious through our conscious choices. So for example, the easiest example is the food choice. The digestion and the assimilation process that happens within us is a beyond conscious activity, but the conscious activity is the choice of the food. So choice of the food influences our beyond conscious activities. So we need to understand the gravity of the consciousness while identifying that the beyond conscious is the master. Now the conscious actions are the physical activities and the intentional activities, the psychological. And the beyond conscious are physiological activities and the tendencies that we have. So thought wise we have tendencies and the intentions. So intentions are consciously sketched, so those are conscious aspect. But beyond that we have lot of thoughts going on within, those are beyond conscious. So when we take care of the conscious aspects, when we take care of the conscious aspects, the intention and the physical activities, we greatly influence the beyond conscious activities in terms of vitality conservation, right? So yeah, Prasida gives a comment. I'm so thankful to you. I was someone who could not eat food despite mixing chili with oil and reducing the effect. Everyone considered me to have a defect. Now I know that my body is too intelligent. It stopped me from consuming processed food. Yes, absolutely, Prasida. Just look at a child, offer a chili, then you will find that what we are made of doing, and how we change the things for no reason. That's a problem that we opt, So little bit of the yeah. So eating habit, let me check the time first. Just a second. It is 7:25. So today is Sunday. I think nobody has got an engagement, right? So because why I'm asking is that recordings, though it will be available, but this live, I had been in online teaching industry for some time. So we understood strategically, we understood business wise also, this asynchronous learning, the recorded videos and all, never helps a lot unless it is guided properly. So synchronous contribution in the learning process is very much important. So that's why I insist that the live sessions should be attended by one and all, for having the proper understanding, because the kind of interaction that happens in the live is missing in the recordings, right? So since we have some time, we can go for little longer. I suppose nobody would mind if I go to discuss little bit about the circadian cycle. Circadian cycle is not a mandate. So after the circadian cycle, we'll go to the specified recommendation of eat, sleep, and work. So circadian cycle is a cycle which actually proposes 3 pies of the 24 hours. 8 hours, 8 hours, and 8 hours. So from 12 noon to 8 p.m. is 1 pi, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. is another, and then 4 a.m. to 12 noon is another. Now, here from 12 noon to 8 p.m. So for circadian cycle, for circadian cycle, so it is 12 noon, 8 p.m. and 4 a.m. Now, for the circadian cycle, two things to be understood: that we distribute 24 hours into 3 parts to give a predominance or to give more importance on few of the activities that we do majorly. So what are those activities? Those activities are 3 R's. One is receiving, other is repairing, and other is the third one is the releasing. Now, the first point is, because this is a course of why, right? So, why this order? So, I have written in certain order: receiving, repairing, and releasing, right? So, why this order is the first question. Now, number 2 is why the timings. So why the timings are placed such a way? Now, just look at a construction site. In the construction site, you get the raw materials first. Then the labor force work with the raw materials and they repair it. And then after the repairing is done, the waste material, the scraps, are removed. So these are to happen in certain order of receiving the raw material, repairing, and then releasing the waste material. So other than this order, the things cannot happen well. You cannot do the releasing before you receive the raw material. You cannot repair the building without the raw material, and you cannot release the material before repairing. So this has to be in this certain order only, and our body is such. The food that we put are the building material, and the vitality works as the labor force. So, and the eliminations that happen is the releasing of the waste matters. So that is why this order is. So it cannot be in any other order. And then why this timing? So the timing will start with the receiving timing. So receiving timing is recommended from 12 noon to 8 p.m. What a coincidence. When I am talking about the 12 noon to 8 p.m., I am talking about the solar radiation. And I'll just give you a glimpse from my car itself. I can see I am facing towards east, and let me show you the sun. The sun has just risen. You cannot see it now. I'll just can you see it now? The sun, the rising sun. Yeah. So yeah, get back to the business. Yeah. So 12 noon to 8 p.m. is the time where the ambient light and temperature is the highest. 12 noon to 8 p.m. irrespective of the geographical location and the season. This is the highest timing of the this is the timing where the ambient light and temperature is highest. And when the ambient temperature is highest, we have to do lesser work to manage our body temperature, because the body consumes a lot of vitality to actually manage our body temperature. So when the environment is supportive, then you conserve a lot of vitality in terms of managing the body temperature. And that conserved vitality can be used for the digestion and the assimilation process in a great way. So the eating process also requires a lot of vitality, and that can be accommodated very comfortably when you do that from 12 noon to 8 p.m. So this is a recommendation of the predominance. So it doesn't mean that you will not eat any other time, but the majority of the eating, the primary eating, should be in this time. And post eating, when you place this for the eating, then you got to allow your body to repair, to do the effective anabolic actions. So that is when you should rest a lot, according to the order also. So, and according to the ambient light and temperature also, this is the least ambient light and temperature. With that, the body, when the ambient light and temperature is lesser, the body will not like to interact with the external world. It likes to do the internal work, and that is what is the repairing at this time. And when the repairing is done, then body will be up to eliminate the waste material. So after getting up, as a nature, you should eliminate without any effort. This is an effortless activity. We should not think that the elimination is our conscious, we need to put effort to eliminate. We should not. So by default, the elimination will happen after you get up. So that is what is the releasing. Now, okay, there are some question. Oh yeah, Prasida says, Nandini, it was hazy initially, but then it appeared. I'll show the glimpse again by end of the class. Yeah, SP is rushing for some urgent meeting. Yeah, definitely. Is circadian rhythm different in winters, short days? No, Nandini, that's what I emphasize, that irrespective of the geographical location and the season, this timing is the best timing for eating, 12 noon to 8 p.m. And little bit of change, because now you know the physics behind it. So little bit of changes according to your situation you can make to find that the maximum temperature is this time, those kind of things, right? So the receiving, repairing, and releasing. Now the right order of eat, sleep, and work. So we have that receiving, which is equivalent to eat, and the repairing is equivalent to sleep, and releasing is equivalent to work. So now work has got other meaning also when we do physical works. Now if you check the vitality quotient versus the consumption and the conservation, if you eat at this stage, after eating you have to spend a lot of vitality to consume that, like to assimilate that. Okay, Nandini asks that there are some problem who can be active only in the evening and late night. So how are they functioning? So that's a modification they have done in their lives. So that's the personal choice they made it. They are not programmed to do it. You know, the same way the chili, I have a lot of friends of mine, they claim that they love chili. But they have conditioned themselves and they can eat chili also in a raw single state. So I propose them to think about that deeply, because we are not programmed to do that. So the same thing here, you know. Now the sleep, when you sleep at this level of the consumption, after sleeping you get rejuvenation. So the consumption goes lower and you have higher sense of life. And when you start working after getting up, you have lot of vitality. And after working, then you raise the bar little bit and you raise the heat also. And that heat also helps you to eat and digest. So the order is always eat, sleep and work. It's not that the sleep should be followed by eating. So this is the right synchronized order, you know. Eat, sleep, then work, then eat, then sleep and work. You see the synchronization in the vitality quotient also, vitality consumption also. Right. So ideal starting point. Here the eating time, here the sleeping time, here the working time. Right. Now definitely it is always quality versus quantity. It is not the quantity that we aspire in this change of the lifestyle. It is the quality that we aspire for, you know, that enhances our sense of life altogether. So it is not how much you eat or how much you sleep or how much you work, but how the quality of the eating, sleeping and working, that makes the whole change. So enhance the quality. Now eating recommendation is most of the eating should be within this time. Supply management is very important. You need to manage your supply well at home. So discard all the junk food from your home and pile up fruits in it. So whenever you are hungry, you should give yourself fruit, and that will modify your habit. So create a group that impacts on the motivational, inspirational level, you know. So for example, I'm sure all of you are part of alumni group. There we consistently interact on the aspects of nature cure and nature and life rather. So that gives you the inspiration and being connected to the similar kind of people. So that's definitely, and continue your research. Don't depend on Kalyan or Sai Solution. So be independent. Just disconnect with Sai Solution or these kind of activities. Be independent in your choices. For some time you can stick around, but try to be independent with your own research and track your own change. If you track your change, then you will get motivation by default from within. So that's very important. You know, so you can maintain a diary of changing of your habit for good, and you can track the change of your experiences. So The habit change versus experiences should be correlated, and the motivation will go up. The sleep major timing is from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. time. So just adjust your sleep timing, and pre-sleep gadget free is very important. Don't allow any gadget in your bedroom. Don't allow any gadget in your bedroom. That's very important. Early to bed and no alarm. Alarm is a stress. So when you go to the bed early, then you will find that the early getting up is very easy, you know. And another important aspect is the early dinner. If you go for early dinner, then that will help you to sleep early. Shift the working to the early hours instead of going to the night work. Night work means I'm talking about the personal work. If you have a night shift duty kind of things, that needs to be handled very dialectically and with specific analysis. But in general, we choose to work in the night in our homes, so that needs to be replaced by the early work, early hour working, you know, and that's far more productive than the night work. That's just an intelligent shift, you know. And the work, the major work should be done from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the noon. And be rational in your choice of the work. Be mindful. So one time, one work. Your mind should be full with the single work. And be active and poised. So physical active is very much important. So if you are physically enough active, then you don't need any exercise regime. And bring innovation in your work. If you are creative enough, that will motivate you to go for lot of mindful activities, and that will reduce the burden of the thoughts from your mind. So you need to remain creative and engage yourself in creative activities. The last word, knowledge ushers the change. And the complete endeavor that we are making here is to share this knowledge, and that will definitely usher the change. Yeah, so this all of you know that this is a book written by me, Montage of My Life. So that is available in Amazon. You can opt to go for that book. This is sounding like an advertisement, but it's just a story. I don't like to read this book anymore. I find it's a little immature writing, but yeah, it is available. This is Kevin Hinton. Kevin mentored me a lot during the process of my yeah. So Facebook is prompting that, do you want to tag Kevin Hinton? Why not? I've tagged. So so Kevin, I've tagged it. So you'll find the links to go to Kevin's profile, and we have a Facebook group also. Kevin is no more. No more. Physical existence is no more. So he died last year, end of the last year. So yeah. Right. So now we are going to start the level 2. The revision is over. Yeah, there is a question from Nandini. Work is also important for the body, as speed should be more. If body is always at rest, conserving vitality would not be too healthy. This is what older people do. Yes. So there is a misunderstanding of staying idle and conserving vitality. That actually is a toll on our vitality to move our blood. You know, blood circulation requires a lot of vitality that is being supported when you are active physically. So that cumulative conservation of vitality is achieved when you actually do a physical activity and exercising and all, right? So yeah, so I think we come to a conclusion of this morning session. We'll be reconnecting during the evening session. As I promised, yeah, this is the car modification that we have done. We have placed a table here, and you see, yeah, here the sun, can you see the sun? It's gone up little. let me show you. And just detach the, yes, right. So yeah, with that guys, I'll be signing off today, and so we'll be reconnecting during our evening session, and I'll be sharing the assignments after this class in the Facebook group and the WhatsApp group also, right? See you then. I don't see any question, and we'll be doing this 1.5 minutes silence as practice, and then we'll let me attach it back to the tripod. Yes. Yeah, guys. So I'll sign off. Thank you. Thank you for the attendance. Bye bye.